Hello guys, welcome back to another video on the Andrea First channel. And today I'm going to talk about the last video I made. So in my last video, I did a video called Son Shoots Parents Over a Disagreement of Halo 3, True Story. So I'm going to tell you what the true story is. So in 2007, there was a 16-year-old man, and he shot his parents with a gun over a disagreement of the game Halo 3. Now, I don't remember his name. So, hold on, I'm gonna go back and try to find out what was his name. His name was Daniel Petrick. So, in 2007, a 16-year-old man named Daniel Petrick shot his parents with a gun over a disagreement about the game Halo 3. So, I'm going to try to bring up the information. So I'm going to bring up the news video.
We all have disagreements with an album.
So, now, I'm probably going to get copyrighted for this, but I'll do it.
We all have disagreements within our family, be it over trivial things like what to watch on TV, or more serious issues like finances and partners. But when stubborn child Daniel Petrick clashed with his parents over a copy of Halo 3, their battle would end in the most unthinkable of ways, leaving one dead and another fighting for their life. Daniel's story would not stop there either. Outrage aside, it was the next case to spark a nationwide debate over the video game industry, and further question the notion of violence for entertainment. But who was Daniel Petrick? What actions did he take against his parents? And what was the aftermath? Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, folks. My name is Adrian, and welcome back to Coffee House Crime. Today we're looking at the case of Daniel Petrick. You know, I used to play a lot of video games while growing up. Things like Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Battlefield, back when the series was good, and even GTA. To say that gaming was a large part of my life while growing up is quite an understatement. I made many friends who I still know today, learned a fair few things, and had a lot of fun. However, there is a very fine balance when it comes to video games, and that's a balance that parents have to decide for their own children. But who knew that it could end in murder? Before we begin, and just to let you know, that I post true crime and strange cases here weekly, so if that does sound like your kind of thing, please consider subscribing to the channel, it really does help me out. And now, with that said, please grab yourself a coffee, pull up a seat, and get ready for the deep dive. This is the case of Daniel Petrick. Well, Wellington, isn't it good to see you? Touch down in the city of Cleveland and head 30 miles southwest, and you'll find yourself traveling through the small town of Wellington, Ohio. With a meager population of 5,000 residents, Wellington is best described as a quiet town with plenty of charm. As you can likely imagine, not that much goes on here. Most of what Wellington has to offer includes the great outdoors. The town has a library, a middle school, a town hall, and this weird train thing, whatever it is. Not a lot for a young kid to do, as you can likely guess. games. And this is perhaps something to keep in mind while going through our case today. Anyway, it's here in the leafy neighbourhoods of Wellington that we find the Petrick family. Susan Petrick, aged 43, and her husband Mark were the proud parents of their two daughters Heidi and Holly, and of course their son, Daniel. The Petricks were a typical suburban family. Susan and Mark had been married for around 23 years. Focusing on Susan, she was born and raised in Cheverly, Maryland, and it was after attending Valley Forge Christian College in Pennsylvania that she met and fell in love with Mark. At the time that this story takes place, Susan was happily working in Weber's Healthcare, a nursing home founded in Wellington. Whereas for Mark, he was a Pentecostal minister at the New Life Assembly of God. As a result, all three children were raised in a Christian household. They were all described as having a good relationship with their parents, and the family home was about as peaceful as a family of 5 could get. Focusing on our main character of the story today, Daniel Petrick was a 16-year-old kid who fit the American standard. Born on August the 24th, 1991, he was 16 years old at the time this story took place. Growing up, his friends and family described him as a normal and happy teenager, fun to be around and friendly to talk to. To add to this, he also appeared to be very enthusiastic about the Bible in his younger teen years, and remained out of trouble while at school too. And although he may not have been the brightest crayon in the box, he certainly was not the most dull either, and was able to consistently achieve average to good school grades. Being a teenager growing up in a small American town, it is no surprise that Daniel found quite a large interest in video games. And unfortunately, after a spinal injury, this interest would continue to grow. After contracting a spinal injury during a skiing holiday, Daniel was housebound for more than an entire year. As a result, the TV became his best friend, and eventually the Xbox did too. But herein lies the problem, because although Mark didn't mind video games, he despised violent ones, and that's when Daniel started to take an interest. You see, at the time, in the year 2007, parents were not too sure what to think about violent video games. The realism was relatively new, and they didn't know how it would affect their children. Actually, even I faced this issue. I was 15 years old at the time, and my mum was not comfortable with the game GTA. In fact, it was banned in the family house, and so I snuck around a friend's house to play it instead. You know, at the time it really aggravated me, but I guess in hindsight I fully understand why she was uncomfortable. So, I guess Mum, I'm sorry. Anyway, this was when Daniel and his friends all found an interest in Halo.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, it's his job to keep the power on.
There's an ad going on. A stupid ad.
Back in the... You know, at the time it really aggravated me, but I guess in hindsight I fully understand why she was uncomfortable. So, I guess Mum, I'm sorry. Anyway, this was when Daniel and his friends all found an interest in Halo 3, and back in the Petrick household, that's when tension began to grow. For those of you who don't know, Halo is a first-person shooter that puts you in the shoes of Master Chief, an enhanced super soldier that must fight aliens and parasites. Halo was massively popular back in the day, and still has a very loyal fan base. It was the best-selling game of 2007, and even still today, is considered to be one of the most influential FPS games of all time. So it's kind of obvious why a 16-year-old would love to play this game, and especially if all of his friends were playing it too. But Daniel's gaming habits remained unchecked, and he would play more than 8 hours of video games every single day. And when his father banned Halo 3 from the household, he would simply go over to his friend's house instead. And as you can likely imagine, as the consequences against Daniel increased, so did his reaction against them. Tensions really began to build in October 2007, and it all started when Daniel asked his father if he could buy him a copy of Halo 3. The answer was of course no, which provoked a tantrum from the teenager. Mark remanded that his son was to stop playing all violent video games. The man was very closely aligned with his Christian beliefs, and thought that these games were bad for Daniel's mind. He therefore gave his son an ultimatum: stop playing Halo 3 or move out of the house. Daniel, being the short-sighted teenager, picked the latter, moving in with a friend for several days as they played games for up to 18 hours a day. However, when his friend's parents grew concerned, they requested that Daniel moved back home. Naturally, this did nothing to fix the tension between father and son. Mark's boundaries remained very clear, but Daniel was ready to test them. After sneaking out of his bedroom window, Daniel travelled to his local GameStop to buy himself a copy of Halo 3. However, after bringing it home and sneakily trying to play it, his father caught him in the act. And as expected, a huge argument broke out between him and his parents.